There comes a time in your life when you realize that the weight of the world isn't meant to sit on your shoulders. When every criticism, every slight, every whisper of doubt feels like a crushing blow to your spirit, and you wonder, how much more can I take? But what if the real strength, the true power, lies not in caring deeply about every hurt, every judgment, every failed expectation, but in learning to act like you don't care? Not because you're cold, not because you're heartless, but because you've discovered the freedom that comes when you refuse to be defined by others' opinions. This isn't about shutting off your emotions. No, it's about mastering them. It's about standing tall while the storms rage around you, knowing that your peace is sacred. It's about walking with your head held high, silent in your confidence, unshaken by the noise of the world. When you learn to act like you don't care, you reclaim your life. You say, I will not give you the power to shake my foundation. And that, my friend, is where real victory begins. Sometimes the heaviest chains are the ones we forge ourselves by caring too much about what others think, say, or do. You carry their opinions, their judgments, their expectations like a burden that never lifts. And slowly, it wears you down. Emotional detachment isn't about becoming numb or uncaring. It's about recognizing that the energy you spend trying to please everyone, trying to prove your worth to the world, is stealing your power. When you're emotionally tied to every criticism, every slight, you become vulnerable. Vulnerable to pain, disappointment, and distraction. The moment you learn to step back and watch without getting pulled in, that's when you begin to own your life again. You create space between your soul and the noise. And in that space, you find your strength. You see, caring deeply isn't the problem. It's caring too deeply about the wrong things that breaks you. When your value is wrapped up in the approval of others, you give away your power. You make yourself a hostage to their moods, their words, their perceptions. Imagine how freeing it is to detach just enough so that their opinions no longer dictate your emotions. This is not a rejection of empathy or love, but a conscious decision to protect yourself from being controlled by forces outside your control. You begin to understand that the only voice you truly need to listen to is your own. And that's the first step to building unshakable confidence. Think about the people who seem unaffected by criticism or negativity, the ones who stand tall while storms swirl around them. They've learned this secret. The power to detach emotionally doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you refuse to be a prisoner of feelings that serve no purpose. When you detach, you're no longer reacting out of fear or insecurity. You respond with calm and clarity. This is where true power lives. In the pause between stimulus and reaction, you create that pause. When you refuse to let every jab, every comment, or every failure define your emotional state, you're no longer a puppet. You're the master of your mind. Emotional detachment allows you to protect your heart without closing it off. It's not about shutting down love, compassion, or passion. It's about refusing to let pain, rejection, or judgment drown you. You learn to observe your emotions without letting them drag you under. This skill is a kind of armor, but a flexible one. Not cold steel, but a shield made of awareness and choice. You decide where your energy goes. You decide which battles are worth fighting. When you act like you don't care in the right moments, you're not heartless. You're strategic, you're wise, and you're free. The problem with caring too much is that it makes you a target for manipulation. When people sense you're overly invested in their approval, they use it against you. Emotional detachment is your defense. It means recognizing when to step back, when to say no, and when to protect your spirit from those who want to break you down. It means valuing your peace over pleasing people. When you stop caring about the opinions of those who don't uplift you, you stop being a victim of their toxicity. You reclaim your life and your energy. You become unbreakable because you refuse to be dependent on external validation. Detachment isn't a one-time event. It's a practice. A daily decision to not get lost in the chaos of emotions that don't belong to you. When someone says something cruel or unjust, you feel it, but then you choose not to carry it with you. You let it pass through without letting it sink in and weigh you down. This takes discipline and courage, especially when your instincts want to fight back or retreat in pain. But the more you practice, the easier it becomes to maintain that distance. You start to realize that your emotional well-being is your most valuable possession, and no one else's words or actions deserve to have that kind of power over you. This detachment also helps you in the face of failure and disappointment. When you care too much, every setback feels like a personal defeat. But when you learn to hold your emotions lightly, failure becomes just another lesson, not a reflection of your worth. You understand that disappointment is temporary, but your peace is permanent if you protect it. You build resilience by not letting your feelings about events control your identity. You learn to love yourself through success and failure alike because your self-worth is not dependent on external outcomes or people's opinions. There's a sacred balance between caring and detaching, and it's not easy to find. Too much detachment can lead to indifference or isolation, but without it, you risk being crushed by the weight of emotional chaos. The power lies in knowing when to care, how much to care, and when to let go. You learn to choose your emotional battles wisely, and that choice is a form of self-respect. It's a declaration that your peace and your heart are non-negotiable. When you act like you don't care, it's often a sign that you're guarding yourself fiercely because you know your worth and refuse to let anyone diminish it. At the core of emotional detachment is self-love. It's loving yourself enough to say, I deserve peace. I deserve respect. I deserve to live free from the chains of others' opinions. When you embrace this, you create an unshakable foundation. You become a force that can't be swayed by negativity because you've built an inner fortress of calm and confidence. You learn that the most powerful act of love is sometimes the one where you choose not to care. Because caring too much when it hurts you is a form of self-betrayal. Detachment is the ultimate act of reclaiming your life and your happiness. So the power of emotional detachment isn't about walking through life cold or uncaring. It's about walking through life with a fierce protection over your heart and mind. It's about creating a space where you can be fully present without being fully consumed. It's about knowing your value and refusing to trade it for someone else's approval or judgment. When you learn this, when you really embrace this, you step into a freedom that few ever find. You act like you don't care because you know what matters most is your peace, and you guard it with everything you have. Your inner peace is the most precious thing you own. More valuable than money, more essential than success, more powerful than any external circumstance. It's the quiet place inside where your soul can breathe, where your mind can rest, where your spirit can heal. But the world is full of noise that wants to steal your peace, to drown your calm in chaos, to disrupt your flow with stress, anger, and fear. Protecting your inner peace is not optional. It's a necessity if you want to live a life of strength, clarity, and purpose. You have to guard that sanctuary like a warrior, because once your peace is broken, everything else crumbles. The fights, the drama, the endless expectations, they all chip away at your calm until you lose sight of who you really are. But when you stand firm, unshaken by the storm, that peace becomes your fortress. Most people don't realize how easily they give away their peace. They allow small irritations to grow into full-blown storms. They let toxic people steal their joy and drag them into emotional battles that lead nowhere. They stay awake at night, replaying conversations, worrying about what was said or unsaid, drowning in a sea of what-ifs and regrets. This is a slow poison. Protecting your inner peace means refusing to engage in these draining cycles. It means saying no to unnecessary drama and walking away from anything that disturbs your calm without reason. It means choosing to invest your energy only in what lifts you higher, not what pulls you down. This is the beginning of real power. You cannot protect your peace if you're not aware of what disrupts it. The first step is learning to recognize the triggers, the people, the situations, the thoughts that steal your calm and shake your foundation. When you become aware, you gain control. Awareness is like a light in the darkness that helps you see the dangers before you walk into them. Maybe it's gossip, maybe it's negative news, maybe it's constant comparison or toxic relationships. Whatever it is, you have to name it, understand it, and keep it at a distance. Protecting your inner peace means creating boundaries that safeguard your emotional and mental space. You're not responsible for everyone else's chaos, but you are responsible for your own calm. The world will always try to distract you, pull you off course, and test your peace. You'll encounter people who want to provoke you, situations that frustrate you, challenges that shake you. But peace is a choice. It's not the absence of problems. It's the ability to stay steady through them. When you protect your inner peace, you don't avoid conflict or difficulties. You meet them with a calm mind and a strong heart. You respond rather than react. You keep your center even when everything around you is falling apart. This doesn't happen by accident. It happens because you've trained yourself to guard your peace like the treasure it is. Protecting your inner peace means learning to let go of what you cannot control. You cannot control other people's actions, their opinions, their moods, or their mistakes. When you accept this truth, you stop wasting your energy on trying to change the unchangeable. Instead, you focus on controlling yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, your responses. This shift is revolutionary. It frees you from the burden of carrying everyone else's weight. It puts you back in the driver's seat of your life. When you let go of what you cannot control, you create space for calm, for clarity, and for growth. Self-care is a crucial part of protecting your peace. It's not selfish to take time for yourself. It's necessary. Your mind and body need rest. Your soul needs nourishment, and your heart needs kindness. When you prioritize self-care, you build resilience against the chaos of the outside world. You strengthen your ability to stay calm and focused. This means saying no to overcommitment, unplugging from the noise when you need to, and doing things that restore your spirit. Protecting your inner peace means investing in yourself, knowing that you cannot pour from an empty cup. The more you care for yourself, the stronger your peace becomes. Sometimes protecting your peace means walking away from toxic relationships, unhealthy environments, or destructive habits. This takes courage because it means choosing your well-being over comfort, your future over familiarity. But peace cannot live in chaos. You must be willing to let go of anything or anyone that threatens to disrupt your calm. This doesn't make you weak or unkind. It makes you wise and strong. It's an act of self-love to protect the sacred space inside you. When you walk away from negativity, you create room for growth, healing, and joy. Mindfulness and meditation are powerful tools to protect your inner peace. They teach you to stay present, to observe your thoughts without judgment, and to calm the storm inside your mind. When you practice mindfulness, you develop an inner refuge, a place you can return to whenever life feels overwhelming. This daily practice strengthens your ability to choose peace no matter what's happening around you. It rewires your brain to respond with calm rather than chaos, to find stillness in the noise. Protecting your peace isn't just about external actions. It's about training your mind to be your sanctuary. Remember, protecting your inner peace is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong commitment. There will be days when you slip, when the noise gets loud, when the chaos creeps in. But each time you choose to protect your peace, you grow stronger. You become more resilient, more grounded, more unshakable. You start to live from a place of power rather than reaction. You choose calm over chaos, love over fear, strength over weakness, and that choice changes everything. It changes how you see yourself, how you move through the world, and how you live your life. Protect your peace fiercely because it is your greatest weapon and your deepest blessing. When you protect your inner peace, you become a beacon for others. Your calm draws people in, your strength inspires them. You no longer feed into negativity or drama, you rise above it. You show the world that true power isn't loud or aggressive. It's quiet, steady, and unbreakable. You live with intention, you move with purpose, and you shine with authenticity. Protecting your peace means living on your terms, in your power, and with your heart wide open. And when you do this, nothing can shake you. Because you have found the peace that lives within, and that peace is unstoppable. You ever notice how many people walk through life feeling drained, used, and undervalued? It's because they never learned the power of setting boundaries. Clear, firm lines that protect their energy, their time, and their peace. Setting boundaries without apologies is not about being rude or selfish. It's about claiming your right to respect and dignity. When you start saying no without feeling guilty, you take back control over your life. You stop being everyone's backup plan, their emotional punching bag, or their endless resource. Boundaries are the invisible fences around your soul. And when you build them strong, you create a safe space where you can thrive. It's time to stop shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's expectations and start expanding into your full power. Most people are terrified of setting boundaries because they've been conditioned to believe it's selfish or unkind. They worry about disappointing others or being seen as difficult. But here's the truth. Boundaries are an act of self-love, not selfishness. When you set a boundary, you're not saying, I don't care about you. You're saying, I care about myself enough to protect my well-being. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and when you let others cross your limits, you drain your spirit. Learning to set boundaries without apology is about owning your worth and teaching others how to treat you. It's a silent but powerful declaration that your time, your energy, and your peace are non-negotiable. When you start setting boundaries without apologies, you'll face resistance. People will test your limits because they're used to walking all over you. Some will try to guilt trip you, make you feel selfish, or even lash out. But this is when you have to stand firm. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They're gates that keep toxicity from flooding in. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you're protecting your energy. You don't owe anyone a reason for saying no. This is your life, your peace, your responsibility. The more you practice standing firm, the stronger you become, and the more others learn to respect you. Setting boundaries without apologies also means understanding your limits and honoring them. You're not a machine, and you don't have unlimited capacity. You have emotions, needs, and limits that must be respected. By yourself first. When you respect your own limits, you create a blueprint for others to follow. You model self-respect, and that changes how people interact with you. It sends a clear message. I am worthy of care and consideration. You stop tolerating disrespect, neglect, or emotional drain. You stop accepting less than you deserve. This is revolutionary because it rewires how you allow the world to treat you. It's easy to confuse boundaries with punishment or rejection, but they're neither. Boundaries are about creating safety for you and for others. When you say no to something that drains you, you're saying yes to your well-being. When you distance yourself from negativity, you create space for positivity. When you refuse to tolerate disrespect, you invite respect. Boundaries are the blueprint for healthy relationships. Without them, chaos and resentment grow. But when you set boundaries without apology, you take the first step to healthier, more authentic connections, relationships where you're valued and seen. Learning to set boundaries without apologies means learning to say no with confidence and kindness. You don't have to be harsh or aggressive. You can say no calmly, clearly, and respectfully. It's a skill that takes practice but becomes easier every time. When you say no without guilt, you teach others that your time and energy are valuable. You break the cycle of people-pleasing and open the door for more honesty and respect. This is how you protect your peace and your power. You stop living to please others and start living to honor yourself. Setting boundaries without apologies also means being honest with yourself about what you will and won't accept. You have to look inward and decide where your lines are drawn, what behaviors are toxic to you, what demands are unreasonable, what expectations drain your spirit. When you know your boundaries clearly, you're less likely to be manipulated or taken advantage of. You build armor around your soul that lets love and kindness in, but keeps harm out. This clarity is liberating because it frees you from confusion, guilt, and compromise that cost you your happiness. There will be moments when you doubt yourself, when the voices of guilt, obligation, or fear whisper in your ear. But remember, every time you set a boundary without apology, you are rewriting your story. You are teaching yourself and the world that you matter. You are building the foundation for a life lived on your terms. The discomfort you feel is temporary. The strength and peace you gain are permanent. Trust yourself enough to stand firm. Your worth is not negotiable, and neither is your peace. You will find that the more you set boundaries without apologies, the more people respect you, not just others, but yourself too. You become your own advocate, your own protector, your own champion. You stop waiting for permission to live your life and start claiming it. Boundaries become the framework of your freedom, the path to your peace, and the proof of your self-love. When you honor your limits unapologetically, you create a life that is authentic, powerful, and deeply fulfilling. So setting boundaries without apologies isn't just a skill, it's a revolution within yourself. It's about reclaiming your power, your peace, and your purpose. It's about refusing to be a doormat in your own life and choosing to walk with strength, dignity, and clarity. When you do this, you no longer live in fear of rejection or conflict. You live in the power of your truth. And that, my friend, is unstoppable. Silence is not weakness. It's not a void or an absence. It's the hidden power that lies beneath the noise of the world. A force so strong, so steady that it can move mountains. In a world addicted to noise, constant chatter, and endless distractions, silence is your refuge. It's where your mind can reset, where your heart can heal, and where your true strength can be found. There is a power in choosing silence when everyone expects you to shout. There is courage in holding your peace when the world tries to provoke you into chaos. The strength in silence is the strength to listen, to reflect, and to respond with intention, not reaction. When you learn to embrace silence, you stop fighting every battle out loud and start winning the war inside. Many confuse silence with surrender, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Silence is not giving up. It's holding your ground with calm and clarity. It's the ability to pause and gather your thoughts rather than rush to react. When you speak less, you hear more. You learn to understand situations deeply, to sense the unspoken truths, and to connect with wisdom beyond words. The strongest people don't always have the loudest voices. They carry an inner calm that commands respect and attention. This kind of silence is armor, protecting you from unnecessary conflict and preserving your energy for what truly matters. In silence, there is reflection, a sacred space where you can confront your fears, doubts, and pain without distraction. The noise outside can't touch you when you retreat inside to that quiet place. Here you can see your life clearly, without the distortion of anger or frustration. Silence teaches patience, the ability to wait without anxiety or impulse. It's in silence that you find the courage to face your deepest truths and the strength to carry on. It's a battlefield where the loudest wars are fought and won quietly. When you stop filling every moment with noise, you create space for growth, healing, and transformation. The world often pressures us to prove ourselves through words, to justify our actions, and to seek validation. But there is immense power in not explaining yourself, in standing firm without needing to convince anyone. Silence can be your strongest statement. It says, "I am enough," without shouting it from the rooftops. It says, "I trust my path," without needing approval. When you embrace the strength in silence, you stop wasting your breath on those who don't value it. You conserve your energy and wait for the right moment, the right people, the right purpose to speak. This kind of quiet confidence is magnetic and unshakable. Silence is also a shield against negativity. When people try to provoke you, to drag you into arguments, or to undermine your peace, silence is your response. It's not weakness to walk away from a fight you don't need. It's strength to refuse to engage in drama that steals your joy. You don't have to defend your worth or prove your point to everyone. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. When you guard your silence fiercely, you protect your peace. You show the world that you will not be baited into chaos or conflict. Your silence speaks louder than any argument ever could. The strength in silence also means listening, truly listening. When you quiet your voice, you open your ears and your heart to the world around you. You begin to understand others on a deeper level, to sense their pain, their struggles, and their truths. Silence is a bridge to empathy and connection. It allows you to respond with wisdom rather than judgment. When you listen more and speak less, you become a source of calm in the storm, a steady presence others seek in times of trouble. Silence becomes not just a refuge, but a gift you offer the world. Sometimes silence is the space where decisions are made. When everything inside you feels chaotic and your mind is racing, stepping into silence gives you clarity. It's in the quiet moments that you hear your own voice, your true voice. Above the noise of doubt and fear, silence sharpens your intuition and guides your actions. It helps you separate what matters from what doesn't, so you can focus your energy where it counts. Strength in silence means trusting that answers will come if you're patient enough to wait and listen. It means having faith in your inner wisdom when the outside world is confusing. The world rewards noise, urgency, and drama, but the strongest souls choose a different path. They choose silence, restraint, and grace. They know that power doesn't always roar, sometimes it whispers. It's the calm in the chaos, the peace in the storm, the steady hand in the darkness. When you learn to hold your silence, you become unshakable. You stand like a mountain, unmovable and steady, no matter how wild the storm around you. This is the quiet strength that changes lives. Your life first, and then the lives of those around you. Silence can be lonely, yes. It can feel like isolation when the world expects noise and constant connection. But in this loneliness, you find freedom. Freedom from judgment, expectation, and distraction. In silence, you meet yourself fully. Your hopes, your fears, your dreams. It's where you build resilience and deepen your faith. When you embrace silence, you are choosing yourself. You are choosing peace over chaos, depth over surface, wisdom over noise. This is strength on a level few ever reach, and it changes everything. The strength in silence is the strength to be present, fully, deeply, and without apology. It's the power to hold your peace when the world demands drama. It's the courage to listen more than you speak, to act with intention, and to trust your inner voice above all else. When you live in this strength, you are unstoppable. Your silence is your power, your shield, your sanctuary. And in that silence, you find the courage to live boldly, love deeply, and rise above every challenge with unwavering grace. Indifference is often seen as a weakness, a sign of giving up, a lack of care, or worse, apathy. But what if I told you indifference can be a secret weapon? What if the cold, calm shell of indifference is actually the starting point for unshakable focus? When you learn to turn indifference into focus, you stop being a victim of distraction and emotional overwhelm. You stop wasting energy on what doesn't serve you. Indifference, when mastered, becomes a shield that blocks out the noise of negativity, drama, and chaos. It's not about being cold-hearted. It's about being fiercely selective with your attention. This kind of indifference doesn't numb you, it sharpens you. It carves out the space for your deepest ambitions to take root and grow. There's a power in detaching yourself from things that don't matter, from opinions that weigh you down, from conflicts that don't concern you, from emotional triggers that drain your spirit. When you become indifferent to distractions, you reclaim your mental space and energy. Imagine no longer being pulled in every direction by drama or by the need for validation. Instead, you hold your gaze steady on your goals and your values. Indifference is a boundary, a filter, and a force field. It's the choice to care deeply only about what fuels your growth and to let everything else fall away. When you transform indifference this way, you step into a new level of clarity and power. But turning indifference into focus is not about shutting down or ignoring reality. It's about choosing your battles wisely and conserving your energy for what truly matters. You're not indifferent because you don't care. You're indifferent because you care enough to protect yourself from exhaustion and burnout. Focus demands energy, discipline, and emotional clarity. When you let yourself be consumed by every slight, every criticism, every distraction, your energy is scattered and your power diluted. Indifference, when channeled correctly, becomes the tool that keeps your fire burning strong and steady. It helps you direct your energy toward your purpose without getting lost in the noise. The world will try to bait you with drama, negativity, and constant demands for attention. Social media thrives on stirring emotional reactions and chaos, but when you adopt indifference as your armor, you refuse to play that game. You watch the noise from a distance, untouched. You don't have to respond to every provocation or justify your choices to everyone. Indifference gives you the freedom to stand apart, to be unmoved by the storms around you. This calm detachment is not coldness, it's clarity. It's focus in its purest form. It lets you move through life with purpose and peace, undistracted and unshaken. Turning indifference into focus also means learning to silence the inner critics and fears that scream for your attention. Too often we get caught up in self-doubt, worry, and emotional turmoil. These voices pull us away from what we want most. Indifference to these internal distractions is just as crucial as indifference to the external noise. When you stop reacting to fear and doubt, you free yourself to act boldly and decisively. Focus demands that you don't get entangled in the what-ifs and the endless second-guessing. Indifference is the mental discipline that lets you say, "Not now. This doesn't serve me." It's the foundation of resilience. You must understand, turning indifference into focus is not about isolation or disconnecting from your emotions. It's about emotional intelligence, knowing when to engage and when to step back. It's about being present with purpose rather than reactive out of habit. Indifference means not allowing your emotional responses to hijack your time and energy. It means creating space for intentional action. When you master this, you become the captain of your ship, steering through life with deliberate intention. You no longer drift aimlessly, but chart a course toward your vision with unwavering focus. The beauty of indifference turned into focus is that it transforms how you see obstacles. When you're indifferent to distractions, setbacks lose their power to derail you. You stop wasting energy on frustration or despair. Instead, you channel that energy into solutions and progress. Focus sharpens your mind to see opportunities in adversity. Indifference to the noise around you creates the mental clarity to break through challenges without losing your peace. It's the calm in the storm that keeps you moving forward when others falter. This is not passive resignation. It's active, intentional strength. Turning indifference into focus is also about protecting your dreams from the doubts and criticisms of others. When you stop caring about approval or judgment, you free yourself to pursue your goals without hesitation. You learn to trust your own vision above the noise of the crowd. This kind of focus demands a level of indifference to outside opinions that few can achieve. It's a lonely path at times, but it's also the path of greatness. When you stop seeking validation, you start seeking results, and that shift changes everything. Indifference, when mastered, fuels discipline. It keeps you consistent when motivation fades. It helps you say no to distractions, temptations, and shortcuts that pull you away from your mission. Turning indifference into focus is the secret weapon of those who achieve greatness. They don't waste energy on what doesn't matter. They keep their eyes on the prize, their hearts steady, and their minds clear. This kind of focus is not flashy or loud, but it's unstoppable. It's the quiet, steady force that turns dreams into reality. Finally, turning indifference into focus is a gift you give yourself. It's the power to reclaim your attention, your energy, and your life. It's the courage to prioritize your peace over chaos, your goals over distractions. When you master this, you become unbreakable, not because you don't feel, but because you know when to care and when to let go. This is how you move through the world with strength, clarity, and purpose. This is how you win, by turning indifference into the sharpest focus the world has ever seen. There comes a moment in every life when you realize that seeking approval from others is a trap, a prison disguised as validation. For years, you may have lived your life trying to fit into molds, chasing the fleeting nods of approval from those around you. But true power, true freedom is found not in the approval of others, but in the unshakable foundation of self-respect. When you embrace self-respect over approval, you stop being a passenger in your own life, dictated by the judgments and opinions of others. You become the driver, setting your own course with confidence and dignity. Self-respect is the armor that protects your soul from the constant barrage of criticism and rejection. It's a declaration that your worth is not negotiable and that you will no longer dim your light to make others comfortable. Approval is temporary. It's like a shadow that shifts with the sun, sometimes there, sometimes gone. But self-respect is eternal. It's a deep knowing of your value that no outside voice can shake. When you lean on self-respect, you don't need a crowd to cheer you on. You cheer for yourself. You honor your boundaries, your dreams, your principles, even when it means standing alone. This is not arrogance or pride. It's courage. It's the strength to look in the mirror and say, I am enough. Without this foundation, you will forever be vulnerable to the approval addiction that steals your peace and stunts your growth. Many people confuse kindness with seeking approval, but they are worlds apart. Kindness flows from self-respect. It's giving without losing yourself. But when you chase approval, you give pieces of yourself away, hoping to be accepted. This bargain always comes with a cost, your authenticity. When you embrace self-respect, you stop sacrificing your truth to fit in or please others. You begin to live in alignment with your values, no matter the external noise. This is where true peace and power reside. You become a force, not because you demand respect, but because you embody it effortlessly. Living for approval creates a life of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being disliked. These fears keep you trapped in a cycle of people-pleasing, second-guessing, and hiding your real self. But self-respect frees you from these chains. It gives you the courage to say no without guilt and yes without hesitation. It lets you walk away from toxic relationships and situations without regret. When you put self-respect first, fear loses its grip. You stop living for others' expectations and start living for your own truth. And in that freedom, you find joy, purpose, and strength. The world will test your self-respect every day. It will try to pull you back into the desperate quest for approval with voices of doubt and criticism. But those voices don't define you unless you let them. Self-respect is a shield you hold up against the judgments of the world. It's the voice inside that says, I know my worth no matter what you say. When you embrace self-respect, you build resilience against negativity. You become unbreakable because your foundation is not external applause, but internal conviction. This is the power that turns setbacks into comebacks and criticism into fuel for growth. Choosing self-respect over approval means embracing your imperfections. It means recognizing that you don't have to be perfect to be worthy. Approval seeking often demands perfection, a mask you wear to gain acceptance. But self-respect celebrates your humanity. It honors your mistakes as lessons, your scars as proof of survival. When you embrace this truth, you stop apologizing for being who you are. You hold your head high, flaws and all, knowing that your value isn't contingent on approval, but on your integrity and self-love. This radical acceptance is liberating and transformative. Self-respect changes how you relate to others. When you respect yourself, you attract respect. You set boundaries that protect your energy and your soul. You refuse to tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or dishonesty. This doesn't mean you become harsh or unkind. It means you become wise. You choose relationships that uplift rather than diminish you. You surround yourself with people who see your worth and reflect it back to you. And when someone tries to take that away, you walk away without looking back. This is strength rooted in self-respect. Embracing self-respect over approval also means prioritizing your needs without guilt. It means understanding that your time, energy, and emotions are valuable. You stop overextending yourself to meet others' expectations at the cost of your own well-being. This shift isn't selfish, it's necessary. When you honor yourself first, you have more to give, and you give from a place of abundance rather than depletion. Self-respect teaches you that your happiness is your responsibility, not a byproduct of pleasing others. It's a revolutionary act that sets you free to live fully and authentically. The journey to embrace self-respect over approval is not easy. It requires breaking habits, confronting fears, and sometimes facing loneliness. But every step forward is a victory. Every time you choose yourself over the crowd, you build a stronger foundation. You become a beacon of strength and authenticity in a world hungry for both. This path leads to a life where you are not defined by others' opinions, but by your own unwavering respect for who you are. And that, above all else, is freedom. When you embrace self-respect over approval, you reclaim your power. You stop living in the shadow of others' expectations and step into the full light of your own truth. This is where real confidence is born, not from external validation, but from deep, unshakable self-worth. It is the foundation for every dream you dare to chase, every boundary you set, and every moment of peace you claim. Embrace self-respect and watch how your life transforms, not because the world changes, but because you do. This is the power to live boldly, love fiercely, and rise without apology. When you finally learn to act like you don't care, not out of bitterness, but out of peace, you begin to understand what true strength looks like. It's not in proving your worth to people. It's not in chasing attention, validation, or applause. It's in the stillness of knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you're no longer willing to accept. It's in choosing your dignity over drama, your silence over senseless arguments, and your energy over everyone else's expectation. Acting like you don't care doesn't mean becoming cold, it means becoming wise. It means choosing self-respect over popularity, choosing your sanity over chaos, and most importantly, choosing your peace over people's opinions. You begin to detach emotionally, not because you're weak, but because you've been strong for too long in places that never deserved your loyalty. You walk away not to punish others, but to protect your soul. You speak less, observe more, and understand deeply that not every situation deserves your reaction. You start setting boundaries and you don't feel guilty for doing so. You no longer explain or defend your decisions to people who were never invested in your well-being. You start saying no with the same confidence you once said yes, and you stop seeking permission to be at peace. In the silence, you discover your real voice. You find the power in saying nothing at all. You find strength in stillness, clarity in solitude, and healing in distance. You begin to understand that some people only value your presence when you stop showing up. And when that moment comes, you stop chasing, you stop begging, and you stop hoping for someone else to recognize your worth. Because by then, you've already recognized it yourself. You've stopped waiting for someone to save you or fix you. You become your own anchor. You become your own rescue. Your focus shifts. You stop looking outward for answers and start looking inward for peace. You invest your energy into things that grow you, not drain you. You take that energy you once wasted on overthinking, worrying, and pleasing others, and you turn it into discipline, focus, and self-love. You learn how to pour into yourself, how to sit alone and still feel whole, how to love yourself fiercely, even if no one else claps for you. You finally understand that protecting your peace is not selfish, it's necessary. That silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. And that letting go is not failure, it's freedom. You stop apologizing for putting yourself first. You stop minimizing your needs, your dreams, your feelings to make others comfortable. You realize that the most powerful thing you can do is walk away from anything that disrespects your worth. And you do it silently, not to prove a point, but to protect your soul. You stop trying to change people, and instead you change your access to them. You no longer hold on to what drains you out of fear of being alone. Because now you understand that peace is better than company that costs your soul. You rise above the noise, above the drama, above the manipulations, above the chaos that once pulled you in. You rise not because you want to be seen, but because you're done being held down. You elevate in silence. You grow in private. And when you show up different, not louder, but clearer. Not harder, but stronger. Not bitter, but better. You become the version of yourself you always needed. The one who protects your heart, guards your energy, and refuses to settle for anything less than what your soul deserves. You choose indifference, not to numb yourself, but to focus. You shift your attention away from what you can't control and onto what you can. You stop responding to everything that doesn't require your energy, and you stop fighting battles that don't serve your future. Your discipline becomes louder than your doubts. Your consistency becomes stronger than your past. And your self-respect becomes the foundation upon which you build everything else. You learn to live with grace, but you no longer tolerate disrespect under the mask of love or loyalty. And in all of this, you find a deeper love for yourself. Not the kind of love that's loud and boastful, but the quiet, steady kind. The kind that holds your head high even when the world tries to make you feel small. The kind that shows up for you on your worst days. The kind that doesn't ask for applause, but gives you peace. You become whole, not because of what you gain, but because of what you let go of. You start living for real, not for people, not for approval, but for your soul. This journey isn't about pretending not to care. It's about no longer caring about the things that steal your peace, break your spirit, and blur your purpose. It's about choosing freedom over attachment, choosing truth over comfort, and choosing yourself over the illusion of validation. It's about being done with begging, done with explaining, done with shrinking. It's about becoming everything you were meant to be by letting go of everything you were never supposed to hold on to. Thank you for listening with your heart. May you walk away from this moment not with bitterness, but with clarity. Not with a hardened heart, but with a wiser one. Protect your peace, honor your worth, and never again apologize for choosing yourself. God bless you, stay strong, and keep walking in truth.